Hello everyone and welcome back to the Common Sense Crypto channel. As with you always, this is Rich doing another video today on XRP. So I hope you're all having a wonderful day today wherever you are in this great world. We're gonna talk about XRP. And I gotta start with this from Blue Hawk Legend. RChex extends tokenized real-world asset universe to bring equities and government debt on chain. And I said, they're tokenizing the US debt, so there's no need for Bitcoin at the US government. Because their big argument is, we have to buy up all this Bitcoin, lock it away for 20 years to pay off the debt. But they're already tokenizing the debt. Ondo is doing the same thing. Ondo Finance expands to XRP Ledger and Stellar, boosting global access to tokenized US treasuries. They're already tokenizing the debt. There's no reason for the US government to be buying up Bitcoin. And I think that whole narrative is being created by Washington bag holders as well. Holy shit, IMF's new standards classify Bitcoin as a capital asset. This could be uber bullish. But is it bullish? No, because they didn't even understand what was said. So I said, for all those that can't comprehend what this means, the IMF said this: crypto assets without a counterparty liability designed to act as a medium of exchange, example, Bitcoin, are treated as non-produced, non-financial assets and recorded separately in the capital account. They are clearly telling you Bitcoin will not be part of the new financial system and it will be regulated differently, most likely regulated into irrelevance. But you go ahead and try to spin it. Meanwhile, the IMF sees XRP and XLM classified as high-value stablecoins or utility coins. You know, they celebrate everything that's said without even reading it thoroughly and trying to understand what that actually means. And then this came out. The IMF called Bitcoin gold, digital gold, and it's fake news. The IMF did not call Bitcoin digital gold at all. You see what I'm saying? They're creating hype and speculation and false information out of everything that they could find on the internet. They take an article and they spin it the way that they want it to be implied. And that's why there's all this hype for Bitcoin right now. Once the hype dies, I'm telling you, Bitcoin is going to come crashing down like never before. It's just a matter of time until these utility-driven cryptocurrencies decouple from Bitcoin permanently. And Bitcoin will no longer control this market going forward. Zach Rector says, let me be clear, this will never happen. The United States will never sell gold to buy Bitcoin. And this came from an article written by Bo Hines. And this is just one guy in Washington. Then he goes on to cite Senator Cynthia Lummis. And Cynthia Lummis cites Michael Saylor. You see what's going on? It's like a circle of hype that is never ending. Then they get all these people that are most likely paid shills for Bitcoin to go on X and spin everything as being bullish for Bitcoin. Why is this happening? Because they need to pump up Bitcoin so some of these billionaire bag holders can sell some of their Bitcoin. I think Cynthia Lummis, I tried to find the post. I think she said she holds 1,000 Bitcoin. She's never selling all that Bitcoin unless a government bailout happens. Because at the same time, you have other people selling as well. And then there's this, Tether. And this isn't going away either. I keep seeing people spinning it now. Lutnick's going to keep Tether as strong as he can because he's a Bitcoin maxi. So how Tether artificially inflates the price of Bitcoin. This has been going on ever since back in 2017, and it's been going on year over year. The value inside of Bitcoin right now is 87% Tether, printed out of thin air. JP Morgan is predicting the demise of Tether as well. Sure, you can disagree with me, but are you going to really ignore the bold calls of smart money? JP Morgan decreased their use of Tether with upcoming stablecoin regulation. And when JP Morgan is pulling out, you know they know something big is coming. If they're pivoting away from Tether, they know that it's about to happen. And yet people still don't want to believe it. It has to happen, and they have to lose all of their money, and then all of a sudden it'll be all over X. I should have listened to everyone else. It happened with FTX. You would say something, and right away somebody would say, you're totally wrong. The celebs love FTX. And we all see how that played out. Same thing is going to happen here. And once again, the IMF, only 6% of Tether is backed by cash. The IMF knows. This is why the IMF told El Salvador, if you want money from the IMF, you need to pivot away from this Bitcoin narrative. You need to stop buying Bitcoin. And what did El Salvador do? They stopped buying Bitcoin. Unless you go to X and listen to all of the fake news. IMF or El Salvador's still buying. We got proof El Salvador's buying, but there's really no proof of that happening. It's all one big fake narrative. Ripple wants XRP to be Bitcoin for banks, says Bloomberg. But I think what Ripple actually wants is this. They don't want XRP to be Bitcoin for banks. They want to fix the banking system because the banking system is broken. And a lot of people don't even have access to a bank account. That's why banking the unbanked is so important to Ripple and Stellar as well. What Ripple wants to do is they want to fix the back end of Swift as well, because that's where all the major problems are. You know, the front end, everything is great, but then you go to send money overseas from the United States to, let's say, the UK, and you're waiting 3 days, and that transaction is super expensive. That's what Ripple wants to fix. Ripple is now integrated into Swift through EastNets, Payment Safe, allowing XRP to move seamlessly across the network. What a coincidence. Swift published an article on March 20th about their plans to enable seamless cross-border payments. Swift is already working with Ripple. Ripple's already integrated into the new financial system. Plus, you have the Fed. And this is going to be big as well. And people out there still think the Fed is going to create their own payment system. I mean, it's that ridiculous. But this has been planned for years. This didn't just happen. You know, Ripple has been out there for a decade now, putting rails in place all around the world. And it still continues to happen today. So is it too early to talk about the 1,700 NDAs? It feels like the floodgates are about to open. Monica Long, president of Ripple, says, know what you hold. Now, I don't think there's 1,700 NDAs. I think some of them have been announced along the way because this document is a little bit older. But they're contracts by which Ripple transferred XRP directly to a counterparty. Contracts by which Ripple counterparties agree to sell XRP on behalf of Ripple over trading platforms. Contracts by which Ripple paid for various counterparty services in XRP provided by Ripple. And miscellaneous contracts that do not fall into the first three categories. When those NDAs start being announced, I think this space is going to change very quick. First of all, you're going to have XRP moving on all of those big announcements, because I think what's going to happen is a major shift. All of a sudden, a lot of these banks are going to start coming out of the testing phase, because that's the private ledger that everybody's talking about all the time. There's two prices for XRP, the private ledger and the public ledger. But on the private ledger, the banks are still in the testing phase. Once they come out of the testing phase, the price on the private ledger will be reflected on the public ledger. But there's not going to be two separate prices for XRP. So say, for instance, the SEC comes out, makes the major announcement that the case is over against Ripple. All of a sudden, you start having some of these NDAs being announced on a daily basis. The price would definitely change, because you know there's a lot of big names in those NDAs. And if they're announcing that they're going to go live on specific dates, utilizing XRP, utilizing RippleNet, I expect a price surge to happen. It could happen that quick. And remember, there's a lot of central banks that haven't been announced as well. Take a listen.
Ripple has partnered with several central banks around the world. Some we've announced, some we haven't yet announced, that they're issuing and testing using the XRP ledger to issue their digital assets on the XRP ledger as a token. So we're excited to be working with them. And look, at our core, Ripple's really good at working with enterprise customers. A government is just a big enterprise customer.
And there's Brad talking about how they plan to work with governments as well. And a lot of the CBDCs that are building out on the XRP ledger, I think the very first one that we're going to get an announcement for is the digital euro. Because Christine Lagarde and Brad Garlinghouse, they have a history. Remember that picture of them sitting at the round table? Brad always gets a seat at the table when it comes to cross-border payments. So maybe it's going to be the digital euro first. I think some other countries might pivot now that the US is pushing more towards a private stablecoin instead of a central bank digital currency. We really don't know yet what that will look like. I do know this though, anything that goes live is going to bring value to XRP, because it's the primary token on the XRP ledger. So what I wanted to show you in this video is how the hype is continuing on and why it's happening. They're all looking for a bailout from the government so that they can sell their Bitcoin. That's what's happening. There's no reason to hold on to this Bitcoin for 20 years because the debt is going to be tokenized on these networks. And if it's already happening on Stellar and Ripple on the XRP ledger, you already know which cryptocurrencies are chosen for the US government, because they're both US companies. And I think they're going to get top priority under Donald Trump. I would also bring Hedera in there as well. HBAR is another one. Solana, I don't know why they chose Solana. The network is always down. Solana has a very bad track record. I think they're going to pivot more towards XRP Ledger, Stellar Network, and most likely Hedera Network. But until it all happens, stay patient, stay positive, and let's get rich together. With that said, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you all for watching. I appreciate all of you. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great night.